Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell Me with host Carlisle Powell.
There are talk shows and then there is Tell Me, your very credible source for information. Join us every Thursday night. You certainly won't be disappointed.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And Tulu Weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transform him, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me.
Carlisle, I want all women in this rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp or from the diaspora 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers. This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM.
Tell me what you want, please. Tell me what you need. Tell me if I'm good enough for you, good enough for you, Tell me.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to edition number 1053 of Tell Me. We've been around for 20 years and adding. Good evening to all of you, my friends who are listening. Somebody called me from Jamaica today to say, hey, listen, we got hit by the hurricane, but I'm going to listen tonight still. So to all our friends in Jamaica, and especially those in the affected areas, I'm so very, very happy to note that people like Beanie Man and Shaggy have already responded with aid, because in times like these, every little bit helps. Good evening, Tulu. How you do?
Good evening, my brother. Good evening, Dr. Daly. Good evening to all viewing and listening public. Again, I'm giving God thanks for another week. that He has spared us, given us life and health and strength so that we can be here again to share information which are what is them? Pertinent? Okay, good. To the discourse that we are now faced with, helping them to make informed decisions. Good evening to my sister Sylvia, also Janet, Valerie, my nephew Kyron. Good evening to Mr. and Mrs. Romelo Jeffers. Sister Lynette Liebert, how are you doing? Elvan Ellie, Randa Brown, Lavanda. Helena, how are you doing, my darling? I have to give you a shout. Everybody who tune in, call up a friend, call a neighbor, tell me's on. Listen.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Daly, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Carlisle. Good evening to all of you, Tulu and yourself. And of course, all those on the FM dial, Twitch, YouTube, and of course the Facebook feed. Good evening to all of you. If you're in the diaspora, special good evening to you and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. Let me say first, welcome to my, good evening to my brother Hugh down there in St. Croix, my brother Denny and his wife Twilla in New York, my brother Carl in Atlanta, my other brother Carl in Canada, and my sisters Eben and Judith up there in Connecticut, and my other brother right here on Nevis, Reverend Nathaniel Daly, my boys over there in St. James. I messed it up last week to make sure I get it right this time. Max is in Westbury, so he's not in St. James. And so let me say good evening to Turkey and Gary and Bose. I got that right tonight, and Max up in Westbury. And I just came from my favorite barber down there, just by the Octagon there. And so his name is actually Barber. Well, no, he's not even Barber, but I call him Barber. And I just turned him on to the radio, so I hope he's still listening. Good evening, Barbara. Thank you for my spiffy haircut. I feel sexy, you know.
So at least the tonal did something for you. When they see you here, need cutting.
Yes, I noticed. I had to get a haircut.
Yeah. Okay. Let me say good evening, of course, to let me start at the bottom this week. Daily, pull the second mic. Open up the second mic. You're not peeking like me and Tulu yet. I don't know. We gave a brand new mic over there, but something is still not working. So grab the second mic and I will load up that as well. Good evening to Morvet. Sorry I missed your call. And so we want you, Morvet, to know I missed your call, but I was here in the studio struggling. I had to call Lawson to rescue me because he had done such a brilliant work getting all the clips ready. And I went in and color-coded and now trying to save and lost everything. So the body said, Jesus saves. Lawson saved me tonight. Okay, so Morvet, Mary, hope that you're doing well. And of course, your husband, John, and your daughter, Janet. Let me say good night to my sister, Glenda, down there in St. Thomas. Glenda, I was to call you on something today and it slipped me. And by the time I remembered, it was a little bit too late. And of course, Sharifa and the best taxi operator in the whole of St. Thomas, my nephew Shamari. Shamari, I noticed that he's driving people like Mike Tyson. He drives the big of the bigs. You know, so I want to say congratulations to you. Continue doing well. Continue improving your business. Let me, of course, run across to Tortola and say good evening to Byron and his wife Heather and the rest of the family. And here, my brother Trevor. Trevor, thank you very much for the goodies you brought me this morning. Thank you very much. And let me also say good evening to Alan and Dali and the rest of the family. And, of course, Shireen and Caden. Caden, he has me watching American football now because he's playing football nowadays and doing a good job too. And so those are the persons, along with all of you special people who listen to us every single week on Tell Me. And those persons who are giving us a little bit of sugar cake to make sure that we keep nourished. We thank you very much. And we want you to keep supporting this station. We normally don't tell you that you can only put in a soft collection, but we like the soft collection. So if you want to help us to stay on air, nothing is wrong with sending a little package. All you have to know is how to spell my name or Tulu's name or Dr. Daly's name, and we have MoneyGram, which is very reliable, and we can collect that and make sure that we continue keeping the station in good stead. Let me go to the birthday list and let us see who we have lined up for this week having birthdays. I know that today we have some persons who are celebrating. My grandmother's very first granddaughter, Kathleen Rollins, is celebrating her birthday today. And so we are reaching out and saying good night to you, Kathleen. Hope that you have had a good day so far and that you continue to enjoy the rest of your birthday. One of the very best goddaughters in the world, a lady named Redis Bass. She's celebrating a birthday today. And so I'm always, as usual, sending love to her. Jonica Hill, that's Ruslin's grand. She's celebrating today. And on tomorrow, on the 31st, we have Annette Francis Gomes, Simone Mills, and I think tomorrow Chilston celebrates an anniversary with American Airlines. I don't know why I think so in my head, but it's in my head, so I believe it is true. And then the gentleman who calls himself the biggest, baddest blogger, Obi, will celebrate his birthday tomorrow. On Sunday the 2nd, Heidi Tyson, that's my Zion woman, she will be celebrating. And a very special, huge shout out to Mrs. Sindrine Daly and her handsome husband. They will be celebrating an anniversary on Sunday the 2nd. On Monday the 3rd, Lauren Rivers, Cedric Clark, the Mighty King Flamingo, and a lady named Charlene Shatter Martin will be celebrated on Monday the 3rd. On Tuesday the 4th, Frank Munzak, Ruthlyn Hill, Mr. Wingrove Music Hicks Williams, Grandmasters, will be celebrating. And on Tuesday as well, we have Sherman Lewis who will be celebrating. On Wednesday, my good friend Warren Nisbet will be celebrating his birthday. And so those are the persons I have on the list, gentlemen. I don't know if you... Oh, yeah, we have Ivor Yankee Shiverton. That's the brother of King Chevy, who... when is his birthday, Daily? Today. Today is his birthday. So King Chevy's brother, Ivor Yankee Shiverton, celebrating today. And so we are sending you a lot of love and all that is good. We hope that you enjoy yourself and your birthday.
Belated anniversary to Tony and Violet Nisbet from the Jessups, two of the most wonderful persons on the face of the earth. They celebrated 54 years of marriage.
Wow.
That's before Dr. Daly was born. Okay, on Tuesday. And so we wish them all the best as they continue to move forward together, touching lives.
That's too much. That's too many.
That too many years?
Yeah.
They're just getting started, they say, you know?
Tony's a good man.
Violet is a
she better?
Higher. Yeah, Violet better.
She better than Tony.
Yes, Violet better. Then, you know, those are two awesome, awesome people.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying.
I'm not going to argue.
Tomorrow I might tell you Tony better, but right now Violet is better.
Okay, let's do the birthday song, gentlemen.
I like how you put the woman in front.
Yes. Put her to lead.
Put her to lead. Yeah.
But
I believe Tony is better.
Truth is true.
I believe Tony is better. Anyway, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And as usual from us in the studio, may you live to be 101 and us 101 minus a day. So we don't have to see you go. May God continue to bless you with good health, strength, of course, wealth.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, let me tell you the numbers that you're going to call tonight, but you're going to hold the calls for a little bit because we have quite a bit on the computers tonight, and we want to get through some stuff before we start taking your phone calls. Our WhatsApp number is good. And we always remind you that if you're overseas and you're trying to get us, you can get us on 917-460-2187. 917-460-2187. Somebody send a message to Stacky and give him that number for me, please. 917-460-2187. And you can also reach us on 669-7312 or 469-7953. Those are the numbers that you can reach us on. Gentlemen, quite a lot has happened in the week gone by, and we're going to try to capture some of it. We started the week on Sunday morning with a hike which was organized by the Nevis Reformation Party youth arm. And so we're going to look at some of that and make a couple of comments as we go by. Listen, about 50 persons made the hike. I'm quite happy with the turnout, with the numbers. And we had Jermaine, who took us around, showed us exactly what is what. And we actually went to that hot spring as well, so that we could feel the water for ourselves. And so let me see. I think yeah, okay. This is the one with the hot springs. Let me swipe over and get that one. And that is the area that was cleaned out, and that water, gentlemen, is hot. When I tell you hot, I mean comparable to, and in some instances hotter than some of the water in the hot bath and in the stream itself.
Wow.
So it surprised some people. I am advancing the theory that the people from overseas who are coming in here and want to have the settlement in Nevis knew about this, and the cabinet didn't have a clue. I don't think that they knew about it at all. But it's, and you see how the water is crystal clear. Clear, nice and hot, and there is a lot that you can do over there with that kind of temperature in terms of the water.
I happen to believe that Sharon and Mark knew about that water.
Possible. I tell you something else. When the first video came out and they talked about Young Jones, and people talked, he spoke about the heat of the water and so on. And then the second video came out with Banky, and then the third video came out with German. I saw a Google video from Google Maps which showed even more water further over. And on the walk on Sunday we discovered that other stream with a lot more water than is in this first gut.
It's hot too?
No, I didn't feel the heat in the water. Okay. But there is a lot more water. And off on the side, as you leave the main road and you go into the bushes, there's a well in there which actually has in water. And with water springing into the well as regularly. Because, the well is not in great shape, so maybe a few stones fell out. And so you actually hear the water and see the water trickling down into the well itself. So there are resources over there.
Well, the well, for example, that well is on my friend's estate. The Williams estate.
Okay.
Well, you saw from the video that the Destiny people put out, phase 1, or I should say section 1, speaks about a hot spa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, going all the way to phase 6 or 5, way over in the southeast, which is when your natural harbor over there. So they have been here on the ground for some time and know the lay of the land, know exactly what resources are present and what are not. And so I'm not surprised that they would have had sight of this as part of the development for the SSC. All right, and so I think what this has done, this journey, this hike, is opening the eyes of a lot of Nevisians as to what exactly lies to the southeast of Nevis. Because, like everybody else, it's some place that is not terribly accessible. We knew about it since we were boys. We did a lot of spear diving and going after whelks in the area, fishing. So we pretty much had an idea what was there, and we treasure what is there. And so this is one of the reasons why we are so against this massive development that seeks to take up all of that and make it impossible for us to enjoy it. And so that's part of the charm of Nevis.
One of the greatest resources that a country has is water. The Premier kept touting that the lands out there basically has no value. But here it is that the land has one of the greatest resources that the world needs, which is natural, hot and cold water. And yet, in his mindset, that is nothing. So we should give it away to somebody else for basically, what's the sugar cake?
Less than that.
Less than a sugar cake.
This one ain't got in the coconut. The sugar cake, the Premier sugar cake don't have in the coconut.
Right.
Okay, gentlemen, that was Sunday morning, and I want to thank the NRP Youth Arm because the only thing I did was give the time. And then they organized the public relations and the invitations and got people to come out Sunday morning, waking up some people early to go on the walk. But I'll tell you something, it was well worth it. It was very well worth it. I got in some good exercise. So I want to thank the Youth Arm once again for that. And then Sunday afternoon, there was this big secret. The secret being the convention by the other side. It reminded me of the death of Sir John Moore. Not a drumbeat. Nobody heard anything about it before or after. It is just as if it was just a public relations event to try to get people to come to the town hall on Monday. When you're a party in power, your convention supposed to get a little bit of bouncing. This year is like, we just play with sponge ball. This was like an iron ball. It just dropped flat.
Someone asked me to look it up and look at a particular part of it. I tried high and low this afternoon, but I could not find the convention on the normal source that I go to look some information. But what the person was saying to me, that the Premier was very irate because his people, according to him, is not calling the radio station and basically bigging him up. I mean, when you are a leader, you said that your role of the buck stop with you, and you are so mighty and powerful. Why do you have to be begging people to call you? It means that what you are offering is no good, that your very people have turned off from you and turned to something else. And so, but I was trying to find it, but they told me that he was real upset with that pronouncement, but I just couldn't find it to see it for myself.
You sound like a surprise.
No, but the person wanted me to look, because they told me, and they said, listen, they want me to see it for myself. I wanted to see it for myself.
The king is dead.
Is that dead king?
The king is dead. Long live the king. King is dead. So, you see, what you have to understand is that not just us on the other side, but people on that side are recognizing that this is the Premier who has had the most resources. If you combine all of the other premiers who have served St. Kitts and Nevis, from Bradshaw to Southwell to Limor to Kennedy Simmons to Sim Daniel, Joseph Parry, Van Samry, Mark Brantley, combine all 7, all 7, with their resources, none of them have had as much money as Premier as Mark Brantley. And none of them can show you less for the money that he has had and that he has presided over wasting. This has been the most ineffectual Premier in the history of Nevis. And people are just realizing what NRP has been saying all along, that the king is dead. The emperor has no clothes.
Well, he's basically would have admitted, because I saw something that somebody said to me where he's saying that he don't care what nobody else say. Basically, what really matters to him is what goes on in his house, his wife and his children. Nobody else, what nobody else said. He sent a strong message to even those in his cabinet. What you're saying doesn't matter.
That is a white flag of surrender.
It is.
But to the point of resources, it's a very important point, because you have to understand the grease that makes government work is money.
Mm-hmm.
Without money, you basically have good ideas. You may want to implement policy, you may want to have something special for this or that. But without grease on the rails, it doesn't go anywhere. And so when you calculate the amount of money that the Premier has had access to over the years, if you count from 2015 when he was then basically the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Aviation in the Team Unity government, coming forward to 2017 when he became the Premier of Nevis, and you calculate the quantum of money that he has had, including recurrent revenue, including grants and loans, and the CBI receipts, you're talking well over $1.75 billion for 13,000 people to administer. How do you have that money, that amount of money at your disposal, and we are in the position we are in?
You add the loans to that?
Well, no, I'm not adding the loans to that. I'm talking about recurrent revenue.
Okay.
Recurrent revenue, which averages about $135, $140 million a year. And then you have $66 million a year from 2015 coming forward, 2017, coming forward. And then you had grants from all kind of agencies. So you're looking at well over $1.5 billion at his disposal to administer, again, a population of 13,000 people. If with that kind of money, the streets of Charlestown should be paved in gold. You should be having a golden toilet in your house.
Everybody.
Our students should be going to university for free. The hospital should have been transformed.
Charlestown Health Center
we should have had community centers in Charlestown alone.
And the health center too.
And the health centers. What I'm trying to say is, if you are a bad administrator, this will be the result. That you have all this money and you have not been able to turn that money into tangible results, not only in infrastructure development, but in services, where people can get a little help from social services, people can afford a home instead of having to be, begging bunk anywhere. The housing stock has basically stalled. We should have been in a better condition. We don't have a marina. We don't have a marina in the entirety of Nevis entirety of Nevis. We don't have we don't have things that would accelerate development. We have not done a good job at doing that. And so who do you blame? If you have not grown recurrent revenue at all, and all your revenue increase is coming from additional taxes, rather than a new base of taxes, you are now taxing the people who are still here extra every time. Land tax, water, power, healthcare, supplies at the supply office, right? And come January, there will be another increase in your land tax and your property tax come January. So it's the same people pulling the same heavier and heavier load because you have not been able to expand the investments that can generate additional income for the government.
So where all this money gone? Because there's nothing really there to show for all this money. So the money gone.
Remember that the Premier made a pronouncement some time ago. He said, if we waste it, it's our money.
Mm-hmm.
Let we waste the money.
I remember.
The Premier Brantley has shown very little imagination, very little progressive thinking in terms of attracting new business to Nevis. And he has absolutely only been able to grow the jobs in Nevis by hiring a lot of his people and bloating the payroll here in Nevis. Those people are not hired because of new jobs coming in. What is the new hotel that he has brought to Nevis? What is the new industry that he has brought in Nevis? Where is the poultry farm?
Let me stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
Lefko has pulled up steak from the poultry farm.
We need some pictures for next week. Let's feature that next week. Because somebody told me they went up there and the bush is growing again.
Lefko was the contractor, subcontractor. Mm-hmm. You remember that a Canadian outfit
Yeah.
was to do the work, paid for by the Taiwanese. And Lefko started to dig the foundation. They basically had finished the foundation. And then I got word that Lefko pulled up stakes about 3 weeks ago because the money wasn't coming. They had a problem with the design of the place. So I have to get all the full story. But that poultry processing plant is on pause again. It goes to this inability that the government has to take a project on paper and turn it into something physical.
Even when it's funded.
Even when it's funded. It's a testimony to the level of incompetence that you can't even begin to imagine. You can't even begin to fathom that you simply can't seem to manage the most basic things. You said a Canadian company is coming to do the design. You went and contracted them. The Taiwanese are providing the fund, and yet the project can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of things that have created this issue with the SSC, because this is the reason why Mark Brantley has basically handed over his job to the development, the SSC development, because he cannot seem to manage. And so here are these people coming, and he has handed them geothermal. Please do the geothermal for us.
Mm-hmm.
He has handed them the hospital. Please do the hospital for us. He has basically abdicated his responsibility as premier. He has abandoned the office of premier to the zone developers. This is why he and his cabinet are so out front, totally captivated, totally promoting this SSZ. You can't see anything from the developers. They ain't coming. He and his cabinet and his legal advisor are out there in front, the front men, because they have no option left. No option left but to, rather than give NRP the power to run the government, they're giving somebody else from the SSC because they cannot manage. They cannot manage government. They have basically abdicated their responsibility, and this is why they are meeting with everybody, trying to convince everybody to come on board with this nonsense.
But
where we become a minority in our own country, in our lifetime. And any division, any resident, I don't care if you're from Trinidad, Tobago, Barbados, Guyana, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, wherever you're from, once you're a resident here, and Nevis is your home, how can you dare accept a situation where we know as black people, as colored people, let me use that word, colored people, black and brown people, residents of Nevis, citizens of Nevis, to be now become a minority in our lifetime, taking orders from billionaires and millionaires. How is this even possible?
I think that we have to continue to do that, because I listened to a speech that was given by Ver at a forum. One of the things I cannot imagine how the Premier can say that he knows nothing about Ver, or they call him Veer, when Veer is saying that he and Jensen has been working on this thing for years, for some time, and that he made it abundantly clear that they want a country within a country with no government oversight, no government. Government is useless and should be rejected, just like you rejected murderers and rapists and things from society, and that they put out offer money to poor governments who has all sort of financial problem, and they were surprised the amount of governments that quickly accepted their offer. And so they made a deal. You're broke, we'll give you money, but you're going to give us lands. And within that land, we're going to have autonomy where the the lands will be like a private home organization. It's nothing what the Premier and his cabinet is saying. What Ver is saying is absolutely opposite, and it's what Daley has been saying from day one.
But this has to be one of the reasons why the Premier has been very adamant that Ver is not involved. We know he's involved.
It's not only Ver. It's the entire libertarian thinking, the philosophy, is that they want as minimal a government as possible, but they want to exist within the framework of a country, because then you don't have to provide for a lot of things that you. People are saying, well, why don't they go to an abandoned island in the Bahamas or wherever?
They got to provide everything.
Then you have to start from scratch. Everything you need, you have to build from scratch, which is, they've tried that model. It doesn't work. They've found now, as they've found in Honduras, this model where they can exist within an existing country, basically parasitizing a lot of the infrastructure of that country, their communications, their water, their power, their healthcare systems. So they want to be able to come in a ready-made bed, almost ready-made. They put in minimal work and then own that spot. They're not interested in leasing. They're not interested in partnering. All those options have been offered to them. They're not interested. They want to have exclusive rights over a huge swath of our country.
So, for example, people...
No, sorry, go ahead.
2,400 acres is about just under 4 square miles. Nevis is 36 square miles.
And no, you have to subtract another one. Remember, Newfound, they gave up 1 square mile.
Okay. And so the point I'm trying to make is that when these lands are gone from you, they're gone. They cannot come back.
And you're right.
They cannot come back. The issue for us as Nevisians, we should be caretakers going into the future. We are not going to be around here forever. But certainly our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren would want to make sure, we must ensure that they remain a viable society. You cannot remain a viable society if you are going to be allowing millionaires and billionaires to come into your country with a stated objective. They're not hiding. It's out there. Their stated objective is to come into a small country like this and dominate economically and politically and socially. Every single aspect of our life becomes under their thumbs. They're not interested in integrating. They're interested in colonizing the people of Nevis. And it hurts me really to the core when you see Nevisians who you should think have a modicum of common sense as to what is about to happen are defending this nonsense and saying we need the jobs.
In the old time model, you always had the house Negroes.
But these are worse. These are worse because at least the house Negroes, they were still slaves. You had no choice. But these people, these are heavy equipment operators. These are husbands and wives of Nevisians that have children in school. How did we sink to this level of depravity where our own people don't mind becoming slaves again in their own country?
Should not happen, must not happen. Stick up in, let's take this ad and then we're going to get straight into SSZ.
PICO, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. PICO, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
St. Vincent and Grenadines announced their election date. They're going to go to the polls next month in November. And I'm hoping that Premier Brantley will ring the bell here in Nevis so that we can go to the polls as well. Here is a challenge. He was asked by an officer, police officer, whether or not there would be a referendum, and he flatly, bluntly refused that. What about an early election? No. But no Premier of Nevis has been under as much pressure, under as much difficult pressure from the public as this Premier. And he has brought it upon himself. Well, not only did the CCM steal the last election, but they have fumbled the ball after thieving the election. They have absolutely known not what to do. And then came this story of the SSZ. Let's take you back to where it all started.
And to whoever you want to sell it to, the government cannot stop you. But then if you're hearing that it's going to become something so private and so exclusive that perhaps, because as you say, it's rumor, perhaps I may not be able to go down there with my grandchild. I may not be able to fish. The boat may not be able to go out. That to me then falls on government to make sure it looks out for the people and let us know what's really going on in the area.
Well, I think that's fair, but as you say, you started by saying rumor, and I would be a fool as Premier to sit up here and say I'm responding to every rumor. If I had to deal with every rumor that I hear every day, I would have no time to do the actual work for the people of Nevis. So if you have rumors or you're listening to rumors, I would suggest read the Bible instead.
Maybe it's not a rumor.
Because, I am saying that we as government have no knowledge of what you're speaking because no formal proposal has come to the government. I explained that. So here you are talking about rumors, and you're asking me as Premier to respond to rumors. I say read the Bible, read Genesis. I think it's a far better use of your time.
Mr. Premier, are you confirming that it is a rumor? Are you confirming that it's a rumor and there's no truth to it?
But I don't know. Am I not speaking English? I'm trying my very best to explain that the government has no proposal before it for any development of the kind that you say is rumored. That is what I'm saying. If and when such a thing comes, consistent with our transparent approach, we will definitely come and talk about it.
But we should be concerned, shouldn't we? We should be concerned.
You should be concerned about rumors.
It may not be a rumor. We don't know. The average person, me, the individual in the community, and the reason why we're here tonight, right, is to come to people so you could hear from them. So please don't try to shut me up, okay? I have a right to speak as a Nevisian. I have a right to speak as a Gingerlander. I live in this community, so please calm.
Miss Basley?
My name is not Miss Bazzi. My name is Carlin Lawrence.
Carlin Lawrence,
okay. Miss Bazzi works at Neville.
We're scheduled to stop at 9 o'clock.
What I am asking for Mr. Scarborough is the Premier. I have to ask here because the average person don't know. We're hearing it. It could be a rumor and it may not be a rumor. And since we want to play games with words, since the real estate agency, right, that is being said to be dealing with the developer is Mrs. Brantley's agency, then I have to ask.
Mrs. Lawrence, if that is some attempt to drag Mrs. Brantley's real estate agency, as you say, into your rumor mongering, then I ask you to desist. Miss Lawrence, hear me out. You asked a question. You have come to the town hall meeting. You have premised a whole debate tonight on some rumor that you say you have been hearing. I don't know how am I supposed to respond to that. I respond to facts. I respond to situations that we are aware of that are on the ground. I said to you that the government has had no formal proposal setting out any project of the kind that you've described.
But that wasn't my question.
I've said that 3 times. And every time I've told you that you're going back to say what you hear, your rumor, what you hear.
I didn't ask if the government had a proposal before it, I asked to please explain to the people or to shed some light on what we are hearing.
But how can I shed light on what you are hearing?
So you don't know?
I don't even know where you're hearing it from.
Okay, you don't know, and it's unfortunate, Mr. Premier, that you don't know as the leader of the island.
Could you give somebody else the mic, please,
You
Ms.
should
Lawrence?
know as
We
something
would have heard what you had to say,
serious.
Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Scarborough,
Please, give
something
somebody
as
else the mic.
Mr. Scarborough, this is a democratic island, we say, right? You don't have to agree with me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have commandeered the mic on the basis of a rumor that you have heard. I don't even know. Is your neighbors give you the rumor? You heard it on radio? Where did the rumor come from?
We know. I ain't even trying to let you lead me down that road, because all of us know where party comes from.
We have a town hall where the government is seeking to engage with the public. You have insisted on engaging us all night on the basis of what you describe.
Mr. Brantley,
you describe as rumors.
I'm asking if there's any truth to it, because you should know. You're saying there's no proposal before government for development in the area.
Yes.
I accept that.
Okay.
But then you should know what is happening or what is said to be happening, and then you should be able to shed some light on what is going on. So I was only asking in the interest of the people that to make sure that we are not cut off from being able to use the Atlantic coast, right? And who is offended, I owe no apology to.
So,
right?
Ms. Lawrence, it's not about people.
I want to know because I want to be able to use the shoreline,
Okay.
so I'm asking.
And if there is any development that we need to engage in with the public, we will. Okay. I have been trying to answer you all night, and no matter how I try to answer, you keep coming back to what you hear.
Okay.
What you've been hearing. I am not in the same circles as you. I don't know what you're hearing. I can only respond to what we know as government that has been presented to us, and that is what I can speak to. So if, again, I say, I were to speak to every rumor that this island generates, I would have no time to actually do work.
I understand and I agree. The conclusion to your response then, sir, is that you don't know what is happening and you don't know anything about what could be happening in that area. Thank you.
Listen, I want to nominate Carlin for an Independence Award, the highest one that we have, in the interest of democracy, because here was the Premier not wanting to respond to a rumor and appearing as if he was Will Smith. Remember Will Smith at the incident? Appearing as if he was Will Smith in defense of his wife, when later on it turned out that his wife was not just the biggest real estate agent involved in this SSZ, but the only one. But as far as he was concerned, that was a rumor. And don't drag my wife into this. Mark Brantley lost credibility again with that response. And I think that in the eyes of the people of Nevis and around the world, people are now seeing him as a barefaced, bold-faced liar.
I wonder what VA and Jensen thought when they heard the Premier denounce it and basically denying their development plans and proposal and agreement for that area. I wonder if they were saying, boy, listen, this man is bad. This man is a liar. This man is weak, but he's worse than we could imagine. Because, listen, when you listen to the Premier, it should say to everybody that Mark Brantley is single-handedly the most dangerous person in the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. Listen, this man is viciously evil, cunningly crafty, as the scripture describes it.
But let us put this in context, because that town hall there was basically at the middle of July, I believe. I think it was just before Culture.
Only 10th.
11th of July, where he classified what Miss Lawrence was saying as a rumor, that there was no hard proposal before him, but he had conversations with the developers. Fast forward to the last week in July, you had the first reading of the SSZ bill. And then by August 11th, you had the final 2 and 3 readings of the bill.
Space of 1 month.
All right? So you've gone from a rumor of nothing happening that of note, you can't respond to rumor, to actually passing a bill, the framework necessary to establish the SSZ. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. And then having a proposal.
These libertarians, Johnson, Ver, and the rest of them, were speaking freely in publications in the US in January, 10 months before the bill was passed, 9 months before the bill was passed, saying and encouraging their members to get all your funds ready, get all your things in, get all your passports and things ready, because we're going down to Nevis to take over. They were so confident that this was a done deal. They actually were bold enough to put it in print to encourage 15,000 members of the Libertarian Society to come down, and in 2 years, they said, they can take over the government. And Mark Brandley, the Premier of Nevis, has the audacity, the temerity to be saying nothing goes so. It's a rumor. Nothing tall goes so. I can't respond to rumor. If I was to respond to rumors, I would be doing a work. In the meantime, the bill is heading towards the parliament in the federal government.
And he knew.
A bill that we are convinced was written by the same developers and handed to them and said, this is the blueprint at which you guys are supposed to be crafting the first, second, and third drafts of this legislation. We are convinced of it.
You are right, because Verse said,
get closer to the mic.
Verse said that they buy the lands and they set the rules of the game as to what taking place. And so this thing, until you're right all the time, this thing was not crafted in the Attorney General's office, as Mark said, and the Attorney General said, he too lied to us. This thing was crafted by Ver and them, because Ver said that they are the ones who set the rules.
The Attorney General has yet to confirm that this bill was crafted in his chambers. He danced around it when he was asked directly a question. He said, do you want me to bring my draft team here? Mm-hmm. But I can give you a template, and your draft team can maneuver around it, put in a little dot the I here and cross a T there. But I'll tell you something else, and we're going to exploit at length on Saturday. Because the AG is giving the impression that the chamber, not the chamber, the Bar Association, he's giving the impression that the Bar Association was intimately involved in this legislation. Well, let me tell you something. The Bar had no clue. The Bar Association, which the Premier is a member of, had no clue, had not seen a draft of the legislation, had not seen the final reading, the final act. They had not even seen it. So you have the brightest minds in the legal fraternity all members, all lawyers are either directly or by default members of the bar. And the practice has been that if you have new legislation, especially one that may trample on issues of the Constitution, you have an invitation by the bar, send it to us.
Give a free review.
Let us, you get a free review. We got 100, 200 eyes on it. They never sent it. Never sent it. Rushed it through. First reading, July. Second and third reading, August. Not a single time did the Attorney General, who was a past president of the bar, thought it common sense, let me send them fellas over there. You know, he said in a broadcast, I was waiting for them to ask me to see it. I was waiting for them to ask me to have a copy. Now, how the hell are they going to know you have this thing planned?
If you didn't tell them.
If you didn't tell them. They have asked for input from on other pieces of legislation, but not this one.
Because they did not have a clue.
Not this one. The most seminal piece of legislation ever to come into the parliament since this government has been in power in 2022, August 5th. And God said there has been 83 bills that has moved through the parliament, but not this one. The bar had no sight of this.
Have we seen a statement from the Bar Association?
I can tell you, you're not going to see one. Because like any organization, you have persons pro and persons.
But it doesn't matter. They can issue two. Even when you go to court, you have dissenting judgments.
What I'm hearing is that they plan a legal debate, which I like. I like that. You throw everybody out there and you pros and cons, you get debate. All right? I would agree with you. I would like a definitive statement. But in the context of not having the bar, because we have beaten up on the bar. Come on. We have all beaten up on the bar. So where's the voice of the bar? Why they haven't weighed in? Well, where you going to weigh in on?
I tell you something else, gentlemen. I'm still waiting to see a statement from the chamber as well.
The statement, the chamber hasn't put out anything.
But I'm waiting. I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful. The church put out a statement, neither here nor there. It's basically a summary of all the conversations.
But at least they put out something.
At least they put out something. But
yeah,
they have not said, listen, we agree or we disagree.
Okay, gentlemen, we're almost at an hour, and we're soon going to be taking your phone calls. But we have a couple of things to do before that. Let me again say good night. Simone, I can't remember if I said happy birthday to you tomorrow, Simone Mills. But if I didn't, you will get it a lot of times. Happy birthday when it comes tomorrow. Let me very quickly say that the St. Paul's breakfast was fantastic on Saturday. It was absolutely fantastic.
I ate my last, Mrs. Isaac, I ate my last saltfish cake yesterday, jealously. I've been eating one a day since the breakfast on Saturday. And I finally finished my last one.
So you have to put in an order.
Oh, those things.
It was good. Gingerland breakfast is coming up on Saturday. And Charlestown already set the bar high. Everything was good for Charlestown. The Johnny cakes were good. The saltfish was good. The liver was good. Mrs. Willett, the drink was good. The service wasn't great. They had me standing up for a couple of minutes before they served me.
You want to keep you there.
Okay.
Cotton Gong, they also had breakfast on Saturday.
They had a good one too?
And they had a good one too. I had one from St. Paul's, and then I had one from Cotton Gong.
No, you had one from Cotton Gong first.
No, St. Paul's.
Oh, St. Paul's
yes.
first. Oh, okay.
I had from St. Paul's first, and I went all the way to Gingerland.
To Cotton Gong, you mean?
And came around to Cotton Gong. I did not know. I just happened to come along the road and met them there. I did not know. And so I said, listen, I cannot pass on that patronizer.
Okay.
So that breakfast was good too. To ask me which one is best,
Don't say.
I'm not going to say.
Okay. Gingerland coming up this Saturday. And they will have tripe soup and they will have lentil soup and they will have all the other good things. Gingerland, the last time you told me 6:30 and I came for 6:30 and you started a little later than that. So Saturday morning I'm on the beach starting work with the Nevis Academy athletes. So if you tell me 6:30, you better be ready for 6:30 because I got to be on the beach for 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let me know.
Well,
Okay.
I hope Miss Lawrence is listening because I would like to get a tripe soup. Just tripe, no put no soup.
I didn't talk about that. Somebody did some sauce for cotton ground. I didn't look at sauce from St. Paul's. But when I came around, Carol convinced me that I must try it.
And it was good?
So I did it. Excellent.
Okay, brilliant.
I don't know who did it, but it was marvelous. It just happened that I didn't take one from St. Paul so that I could have compared.
They ran out quickly.
Oh, they ran out quickly?
They ran out very quickly. Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, let's go to the town hall meeting. And that was held on Monday night.
Fiasco.
And it was properly advertised. People responded to the advertisement from all across Nevis. Young people, middle-aged people, all kind of people responded. And it seems to me as if, well, you know, at the Gingerland Town Hall meeting, Mark Brantley virtually said, hey, listen, we don't think it is necessary, but just in case we have town hall meetings and we discuss this matter, all you could get involved. The one in Charlestown, which was held on Monday night, I have never seen a government so unprepared. Totally unprepared for the town hall meeting. It seemed like they were surprised by the crowd. They were surprised that people came early. They were surprised that people wanted answers to questions. And 99% of the questions went unanswered. Mm-hmm. And then some which were answered were just like when you're playing dumb and dumber. I heard a question being asked of Troy, for example. And I just couldn't believe at the way that Troy answered the question. As if to say, what are you asking me? I mean, background checks. That was a simple question that was asked. What about background checks on these people? Let's try talk for yourself.
First of all, we do not know the full background of all of the persons who are the developers. These developers, of course, they were not born and bred here in Nevis. So, we're not going to
so if somebody not born in Nevis, you can't do a background check on them? We have financial services. We've been involved in financial services since 1984. We do background checks on people. We have had the CBI program. We do background checks on those people. And you want to tell me that this is the best answer, that a minister who has been in the government since 2013, that's the best answer that he could give? You don't know the background of all the people involved? But it seems to me as if they don't know the background of any of the people involved. And I submit, gentlemen, that the very way that the thing was set out, I mean, Daly, you were there, Tulu, you were there. The government used up the first hour just regurgitating what is on the Destiny website. It made no sense.
It was deliberate to cut time for question. It was just sad. I would have directed all my questions toward Troy because I knew that once they unnerved him, the whole thing would crumble. And he was unnerved quite easily. Because if you don't even know what a libertarian is, I asked him directly, do you know who these people are and what their intentions are? And that is where the question of due diligence came in. He couldn't answer. Right? But there are companies out there, once you submit names, they will do all the work for you for a fee, of course. They have all sorts of databases there. These are companies, established companies that do these. We have been railroaded and robbed enough as a government, as other people, by these long-handed investors that come here with all sort of tricks and all sort of smart language, and we end up holding the bag. And so before you invest, before you start having serious conversations with these people, you must know everything about them, what they stand for. Have they been to prison? What are their philosophies? These are things that come out naturally from due diligence reports, not just whether you're criminal. Because Brantley was focused on the idea, well, if they're not criminals, what's the point? So if a man, but
he has been known to associate with criminals.
Yes, but if you're not, if you're only interested in criminality, that's all you look for. But if a man is a racist, as we know these guys are, all right, then doesn't that strike a chord with you as a black person? That should strike a chord with you, with anybody, whether you're black or white.
I want to read into the record a comment, and let me post it on the screen so that people could read along with me as well, from VJ. And VJ said, when you are going to start a town hall meeting saying that you haven't done the requisite background checks on the people that have proposed to invest in the country, then obviously that's a hard sell. The truth is that the government acted in a way of sheer disrespect, a moment where politically the cart not only went before the horse, it created momentum downhill. The horse couldn't catch up. Passing a law at the federal level without consulting the people, negotiating to utilize 6 square miles of land in a 36 square mile island without consultation is unforgivable to me. The point of the town halls now are moot because you already made the law. It is such a shame and embarrassment. I have other thoughts on the SSZ, but as things stand now, to fathom what is happening is surreal. I mean, I think he summed it up quite nicely there. But I want to move from that into a question that was asked of Mark Brantley. Let me see. Let's go with this one first.
Good night, finally. My name is Marisha Mori, and as a teacher of over 20 years, I took my time today and I wrote my questions down, as you can see, right? And I almost thought I wouldn't get to ask my question. Don't you think that setting up a town hall meeting after the SSZ is already passed into law is a total disrespect to the people in whom you serve? That's question number one. My second question. A vast number of persons are speaking out against this SSZ law. This includes prominent lawyers within the Federation, elected officials, teachers like myself, your very own supporters, and most importantly, the citizens of this land on a whole. So why does it appear that our concerns are being ignored and that the CCM government is hell-bent on forcing this SSC law upon us? I thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much for the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can, we've had important questions asked. If we can try to respond. The issue of disrespect, you indicated that we are coming now. I think that there has been a lot of confusion in the public space. Let me say, please. Let me say first of all, the SSZ legislation is one thing. The project that is proposed is something else. We are here talking about the project that is proposed for the island of Nevis. It seems that people keep confusing the two. All the please, can I just explain? It is not the same thing. Because an SSZ can be proposed in St. Kitts tomorrow, it can be proposed on 10 acres of land in Nevis tomorrow. The content of that proposal is what I think we ought to be discussing and debating. The NIA, through the Nevis Island Assembly, did not pass SSZ legislation. That was done at the federal level. And all that the SSZ legislation does is it creates a framework. That's all it does. People can apply, and it is then for the government to evaluate each application from each developer to determine whether or not that application meets the requirements and whether or not the people and the government want that particular development. I think that people are saying the SSZ is bad because they hear of a big project that's happening in Nevis and they're saying that because of that big project, the SSZ is bad. I want people to recognize that if that project never happens, the SSZ still remains. And the SSZ may be used for any other purpose. Somebody asked earlier about another proposal. One of the things we've seen is some people saying they would like to create a tech park, but they want it to be done by way of an SSZ. So the reality is that I want people to move away from this notion. The other thing that I want to say on that, I have been in the Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis now for almost 20 years. And in my 20 years, we have debated hundreds of pieces of legislation. I have never seen one go to town hall before it goes to the Parliament. It has never happened. And so while I hear the, please can I say, we're having a town hall now, again, not to talk about the legislation, but to talk about the project that has been proposed. I am not understanding why that is such a difficult concept for us to grasp. The project that is proposed is what we are talking about.
Let me just play something right after that.
We're having a town hall now, again, not to talk about the legislation, but to talk about the project that has been proposed. I am not understanding why that is such a difficult concept for us to grasp. The project that is proposed is what we are talking about. Do we want this project that is proposed on the South Coast? That is what we are talking about, right? So that's where we are. So it sounds to my ear that the eyes have it.
The boy is delusional.
No, he's been deliberate. I think it was
before you continue, Daly, I've never experienced in my lifetime, and I've been around the politics for a long time, I've never experienced a premier being so publicly humiliated and rejected. And this is not just now, this started election night when they thieved the election. He has not been able to catch himself.
This upfront, in your face rejection is hard to take. I could sympathize when he said the eyes have it, because boy, I would tell you if that was me, I'd probably climb under the desk. Mm-hmm. It was hard to take, but I enjoyed it because it's an exercise in democracy. You ask a question, people answered you. Mm-hmm. Honestly speaking, and he was not orchestrated. He offered the question, and people answered him in unison. All right. Now, that is rare, because you almost imagine somebody up there orchestrating and saying, say yeah or say no. Nothing like that happened. People in unison said, no, we don't want this.
Including some of the expatriates.
A lot of them don't want it. But, I admire the person who asked the question, Risha, very well thought out, and he's trying to separate the SSC from the development.
How can you? Without the legislation, there is no proposal.
But it's impossible to do. It's like, I say I want to take my boat to St. Kitts, but I ain't got no engine. Well, how the hell I'm going to St. Kitts? I got an oar? The boat and the engine goes together.
Put it on separate.
So this whole idea is a way of breaking up the conversation, breaking up the argument in his favor. That way the narrative can be tailor-made one for the next. He doesn't want to link them as if they're separate entities. They're one and the same because one facilitates the other. The one facilitates the other. How are you going to have, say, for example, the famous Jim Crow laws in the States that discriminate against black people? You're going to say, well, the laws are there, but, it has nothing to do with the lawmakers. Two different things. No, they're one and the same. One facilitates the other. One leads to the other. They feed off each other. The project cannot exist without the SSZ. And there's no need for SSZ if there's no project. So how are you going to separate them? These guys really believe that Nigerians are some kind of kunumunu and can't read and can't reason, can't analyze.
We're going to open up the phone lines at 20 minutes past the hour. Tulu, hold your thought. Let me see if I can get in 2 clips before.
Good evening. My question is one question, and that is this. I think most people on the island would welcome the development, but my question is, what is the necessity for the SSZ? And my question goes to Madam Lewis as the legal representative of the Cabinet. It is well known that previous developments, including the one that I propose to do on the south side, but let us refer to the Four Seasons in particular, received concession agreements from the government covering taxation and a whole host of other issues. So why could this development not have the same kind of agreement, which is totally under the control of the NIA and didn't need any kind of federal involvement? And if that is not the case, can you please clarify for everybody what the difference is between the normal kind of concession agreements given to developers and what additional concessions you are giving or being asked to give for this particular development project? Thank you.
Good. With respect to concessions, concessions are the subject of the development agreement and will be discussed in there. The SSZ Act does not address concessions. The necessity for the Act relates to the intention of the federal parliament that such matters, because they will involve or could possibly involve matters of national federal responsibility, such as taxation, such as citizenship, such as land ownership, it was thought that would be the appropriate place for those matters to be raised. And it is the federal parliament who took it under their consideration to issue and introduce the legislation. I don't know whether the Premier, as a member of the federal parliament, would like to say more about that.
A lowly member.
Let me stop the lowly member, because he was once a senior member in the federal government, and he decided that he didn't want the job, so he gave it up. First of all, let me say with respect, legal advisor, if you were my legal advisor, I would have fired you. Same night. I wouldn't have waited till the next day. Because that answer is no better than the answer that Troy gave. Simple question. Very simple question. And the response had to do with citizenship, had to do with taxation and land ownership. Legal advisor, for your information, taxation and land ownership don't have to go down federal. Those are matters that we have dealt with in Nevis, in-house, since we became a government, since 1983. We're dealing with those matters, and local council used to deal with those. So to push it off and then say, and Mr. Premier, as a member of the federal parliament, you failed, legal advisor. That was a piss poor answer. And if you were my legal advisor, that would have been your last day on the job. But without any notice, you would have been fired.
But she couldn't answer honestly. The question was very simple. What other additional concessions are you granting to create an SSZ versus a regular agreement? And the answer is quite simple. You are suspending or retreating from your obligations as a government to guarantee security and all those kind of things. So these people are not in the business of setting up no SEZs, no special economic zones, because they're not exporting anything. They're not producing anything.
That's what they said.
An SEZ is a tool that governments use to attract investors in certain disciplines, services, heavy equipment, operators, manufacturing, those kind of things. An SSZ is a whole different beast.
Business.
These are persons who are resident, settlers, never anything to export of any consequence. If she was honest, but I don't know, she's not on a regular basis, but an SSZ, as it is being framed, is a semi-autonomous region where those people in the zone run their own affairs.
That is what Verse said.
They are responsible for their own infrastructure. They are responsible for their own communications, their own water, their own power, school and hospital. That is the difference. And she should have been able to answer that honestly.
Simple question.
There's an additional to that, what you just said there, Daily. Because Verse said that they will have no government at all.
But he can say,
inside there.
he can say what he wants.
Because he said these things are negotiated.
He can say what he wants. But one more thing, Carlisle. We are running into a sticky wicket here because there are a lot of things that are grey or simply not spoken of. What happens to issues like if they want to have their own bank in the zone? Where does ECCB come in with that?
There's no control.
Where does the financial services come in with that?
What currency they're going to use in the zone?
I don't know. They have not spelled it out in the legislation. And legislation of this type, normal will specify we are dealing with EC dollar, US dollar, francs, euros, or whatever it is.
Crypto.
They have not put it out there, deliberately left out of the legislation. But you realize what's happening now, gentlemen? We are now seeing that the sustainability aspect of the zone is no longer sustainable because they are now talking about merging that sustainability factor with the NIA objective of geothermal, healthcare, infrastructure development. The NIA has no choice but to be in bed with them. And the Premier said it at the town hall. We are partnering with the developers on healthcare. We are partnering with the developers on the hospital, on geothermal, and Long Point Port. So we know that this whole idea of sustainability was just a
little red herring.
A red herring.
We have somebody holding. Good evening, caller.
Carla, good night.
Good night. How are you?
And good night to Tulu, Mr. Daly, the veteran, and you yourself. Thank you for controlling, Carla. You're showing me leadership in the management of the party as the chairman. Thank you one more time. Good night, Janice. We got them. They don't ring out of this. Carla?
Yes.
When that man, Mark Brantley, coming and talking about, many bills tabled in the federal government and they never come to the people yet. Don't take any, he know what he and Joe trying to cook up is money they looking. The country broke, Carla. But anyway, I want to sing this song for him tonight. It all what I did for this country, the whole country still against me. Now they're telling Janice to take him down. Take him down. Can't all the women in the bed. Man, he got to go. By will of force, he have to go. And I want to thank the young people to attending the town hall meeting and showing them we're not going to tolerate them nonsense. Children's future on the line. When I hear a young man get up and start to talk about the land where he was running on for years, go and leave them, and nearly ball can't lie. The people at Nevis have to stand up. It's too much land. Can't we are hearing in Bastille, in the court of conscience, that many of the players is convicted criminals. Many of the players in Destiny. Have a good night. Tulo, care for this country. You are walking up.
I'll see you tomorrow.
You walking. Good night, my good friend, Sister C.
Thank you very much.
We got them, Carly. They don't get away. They can't thief.
Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow, Jam Down.
Hi, good evening, caller. Good evening, caller.
Carlisle.
Night.
Good night. Yeah, Mr. Daly.
Good night.
You is Nevis Abraham Chowre. You speak the truth. You see how the whole fighting, America and them fighting against Abraham to speak the truth? And don't care what you do, you cannot run from the truth. Right? You are Nevis Abraham Chowre, and that man there is Nevis Trump. He's the biggest liar. You hear? I thank you for exposing everything. Open up the eyes of the world, not Nevis and sink it.
Thank you very much, caller.
I love that interview what you do here Sunday with that lady.
Oh, the woman in Barbados.
Yes, you must replay it again. The people understand. And I like how she support that with you. Continue to do the good work for us.
Thank you very
much. We have to get them out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Listen, hold your calls. I'm expecting a call from out of the USA, so it was just coming through. So what we'll do, we'll play an ad so that the caller can come back in, and then we are going to put that through. So hold your calls. I'm expecting a call on 669-7312. Hold your calls for me, please. Okay, I think we have it. Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell.
How you do?
Me alright, no?
You sound like a Brownhill man.
Well, me Brownhill man.
I want to hear Brownhill people chiming in on this SSZ and this Destiny proposal. I see that you have been writing.
Well, Mr. Powell, you know, I'm not too I've never been, well, I'm not right now, I'm not too active on Facebook. I don't do politics too much. But when something is important to me, right? This is not just something that could go wrong and we could come back from it. There is no coming back from something like this, Mr. Powell.
Agreed.
I mean, the irony of a bunch of billionaires running around say they want freedom. Freedom from what? These are people who are at the top of the food chain. The only thing they could be looking at freedom from is freedom from responsibility. They don't want to have any consequences for their actions. They don't want to have any responsibility to whatever country they're part of. They're just a bunch of selfish idiots running around, throwing money around and think they can influence people. Now, if we recall, this idea started in New Zealand when people like Peter Thiel and those guys went to New Zealand, getting in their bunkers are talking about the end times and all that kind of stuff. They got pushed back in New Zealand. Then they start talking about sovereignty, not sovereignty as we know it. They were talking about individual sovereignty. In other words, I as an individual, I'm a sovereign entity, right? They realize that's not working. So they come and say, well, we'll have to get land where we can be sovereign citizens. Right? No. They're not talking about freedom from discrimination, from persecution, responsibility. Another thing I'm thinking about, Mr. Powell, there are economic zones all over the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that most of those economic zones, they are designed to give incentive to to develop a community, not to isolate themselves from the rest of the community, and frankly, to be competitors to communities. Because think of this. They say, the NIA says that, Nevis people would be able to go in there just like they're able to go into Four Seasons, right? That means, and remember, these people don't like to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're looking at VAT as something, they don't want to deal with that, right? So businesses inside there won't have to pay VAT, right? Because that's their whole stick. Well, the businesses outside will pay VAT. How would you like to be able to get a 19% jump on everybody else? Right? And these people in Nevis who say, and frankly, I'll tell you, I'm not being personal for this, but most of the people I hear from Nevis who tell me straight up that they agree with this thing, the reason for agreeing is because of perceived personal benefits. Right? I have this. I have an Airbnb or something like this. I'm going to benefit. But if you think that you have an Airbnb and your little cozy Airbnb is going to be able to compete with the hotels and all the condos inside that area, you're making a sad mistake. You might as well turn it into a sheep or goat pen, because nobody's going to be going there. You're not going to be able to compete. The smaller hotels in Nevis or inns, they won't be able to compete. Just shut down one time. So all these people who think that they're going to be benefiting while Nevis disappears, they won't. Okay? They won't.
I'm glad that you are putting it as basic and as graphic as that, because some people don't understand that, one, when the land goes, it's gone, and two, that these people will be living duty-free and tax-free. You will still have to go and pay your house and land tax.
To support them.
Yep.
I'll put it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because they get the luxury of living in the country under our security.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But they're not going to be living under our laws. And that is what you notice the politicians, they're trying to avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they want their freedom is our subjugation. These are two mutually exclusive events. They cannot be free, the way they describe free, they cannot be free while we are free on the rest of the island. Their freedom means subjugation for others. And that's as simple as it is. Now, over the last couple of days, this guy, whatever his name, Johnson,
mm-hmm.
his tweets and his writings on Reddit have come to light, right? And these guys, I start to think and I say, did they think that we like backwards, living in the bush, that we don't have electronic equipment to read these things? Because they were discussing this thing in the open. They weren't hiding to discuss it like these are stupid people. We don't have to worry about hiding things from them. They could see it. So what? They're stupid. They'll buy you. As long as you give them money, they'll take it.
Some openly racist comments.
And guess what? Just in case someone wants to look at, because someone could make an argument and say, oh, he just into justice, he just wants justice for everybody. But it's the obsession with black and brown people, right? And while this guy, I know that type, while that guy is talking about racism, what they call reverse racism, I don't know what that is, but while he's talking about racism against white folks, right? Never once does he mention racism against anyone else. You realize that?
Correct.
That's his tribe, okay? And it's his tribe against everyone else. Why does he want to come among us And I'll tell you this. Dr. Daly mentioned earlier about people asking why not some island in the Bahamas. I know why. These people don't want an island. These people want a country. For them to get full sovereignty that they're trying to buy. They said straight up, we're going to buy sovereignty. They tell you, I mean, I would have been hiding to say that, you know. These people do not want an island. They don't want a part of an island. They want a country. And I'll guarantee you, it will take one election cycle, and they'll have their country, maybe two. I was thinking to myself, if this thing passes, the worst of it will not come to us, but it will come to our grandchildren and maybe children. But no. It's 2 election cycles, and I hope I'm still around by then. But in 2 election cycles, we're going to see this thing's going to hit the fan. Because based on their plan, I know what they want. There's certain things I'm not even going to mention, right? But I know what these people want. And I'll tell you, I mean, I told somebody this and they say I'm crazy. It's not far-fetched for Nevis to see an apartheid-like system. And I'll ask you a question. Who's going to come and rescue us? Who's going to put sanctions to protect Nevisians? Nobody. Not the U.S. No. Antigua's not going to come and help us. Antigua, they're going to help themselves. When this thing happens, if this thing happens, we're going to see what South Africa, it might be apartheid-like. It might not be as brutal. Because they're going to want us for labor. And that's another reason. They get cheap labor that they came to Nevis. They get a ready source of cheap labor. Okay? Because all those people who are working in other hotels now, the moment this place opens, they're going to quit those hotels because they're going to start looking around and they're going to say, okay, do I work here or do I work there? They're going to quit that local hotel and go work in
the township.
That place. Yeah. And every time I hear the explanation from the politicians about what's going on, when questions are asked and the answers I'm getting, I think of a movie, Jack Nicholson was involved in it, where Jack Nicholson said, I'm drowning and you're describing water. Okay? That's what's going on. People are drowning. They want answers. They're drowning, and the NIA is describing water. You know what I mean? They're not getting any answers. There's no help. There's no help from government. We're on our own.
Stucky, I want to thank you very much for your very timely intervention. We'll have you back.
And that's my input. You know me not getting involved in politics.
I know. I know.
Politics.
This is above politics. This is about Nevis.
It's way above politics. Yeah, it's way above politics. When it hits the fan, it's going to be too late to respond. There won't be a response.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Thank you very much and welcome back to Tell Me. Both phone lines are going, so let's say hello, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Someone made the observation that they're trying to separate the legislation from the proposal. I don't know how to do that. Okay? And they're trying to do the same thing and saying it in terms of divorcing the legislation from the proposal in Nevis, right? Under the guise that they're not interfering in Nevis's affairs, right? They're also trying to separate the development and the proposals from the developers. I don't know if you noticed that. I heard the Premier making the case that even if they are libertarians, so what?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
True.
making it sound as if we're discriminating against people, a certain set of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as if that don't matter. You know, I'm not xenophobic. I'm not paranoid. But I'll tell you, if I was living on an island of 13,000 people, and 10,000 people who don't hold, well, they hold a head different to mine, or their values are different, or their beliefs are different, right, who don't intermix, I would be very, very cautious, right? Sorry, be they libertarians or whatever, communists or cultists or whatever, okay? That is a recipe, that is not a recipe for a society that is stable, okay? And we tend to talk about due diligence in terms of individuals, but there's a need for due diligence in terms of the group, at the group level as well, okay? And I suspect that they know full well the type of people who are coming here, okay? But the usual drip sort of information, they don't want to come straight out and say what type of people they are, okay? And that is the reason I think that they had to put that special that's the first word in the acronym, okay? Special, because these are different people, all right? And they're going to come with a lot of differences which may not be helpful to us, okay? And I call the legislation vague. They call it a framework and overarching and all those sorts of words. But to me, it's just another term for a creep-up, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we should really look not just at individuals at the individual level, but as a group, what they are coming with, what they are setting out to do. Okay, and it's interesting that no one has yet been able to satisfactorily, to anyone's satisfaction, answer the question about why an SSC was necessary. Why couldn't we have the same concessions and so on as developers normally get? Okay, neither Brantley nor as you pointed out, the legal advisor have been able to answer that question. They contort themselves, they twist themselves into all kind of knots trying to answer that question. And it's the same thing with the Attorney General and the Prime Minister down here. they have not answered that critical question: why this special zone was necessary. Okay, and so I expect that we'll continue to hear the drip coming, and once the proposal is accepted, and in all honesty, it seems as if it's almost reached the point of no return. It's a done deal. They're too invested in it. Both the leaders on both islands are too invested in it. That it's going to go through. And look out for, once that happens, you see how they had that swan song of a presentation, to entice division to get on board with this thing. Look out now for them to double down on what you said was the presentation, the appeal, their pitch to like-minded people of, I think you said, since January. Mm-hmm. Look for them to double down on that, and then is when we're going to know exactly who is coming here, what they are about. Okay, and by then it's too late, unfortunately, if they really put in those penalties that they're talking about. Okay,
Thank you.
Keep at it, and it's taken on a life of its own. I think there's been a groundswell now, and I honestly, I'd be surprised if it passes as is, or as it's touted to be. Okay, I suspect there's going to be some kind of softening of it somewhere, right? Well, maybe it's just a hope. That's what you have.
Thank you very much, caller.
All right then.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Carl, Dr. Daly, and Tulu. It seems like Washington is on the air tonight, so I have to call in and add my 2 cents. And let me get to it. And I want to focus specifically on the town hall meeting. I found it very rich that Spencer Brand, who has been in hiding for the last 8 years with respect to the hospital in Nevis, the wing that he designed, is so out front with this development, this multi-billion-dollar development. I find it so rich that Spencer can go through slides, even though he doesn't even understand what the hell he's talking about. He can go through the slides with such conviction. I only hope that Spencer Brand could have done the same thing for the hospital wing. And I hope he's listening. Spencer Brand, this is Odell Bussell. I hope you're listening. Second thing, Carlisle. Incompetence and stupidity were on full display on Monday night. And Daly's question to Troy and picking on Troy, and I like the way Daly set it up, because Daly made sure he let the world know that he taught Troy Liebert in school. And I really loved that. Was brilliant right there. And what they didn't realize, that there were thousands listening across the diaspora. And here is Troy basically telling us the way system continues to operate. They never do due diligence. They never check anything. And this is the time. I'm getting some feedback, Carlin.
You're coming through nice and clear on our end.
Okay. All right. They never do due diligence for anything. And so I will say the same thing with the Drew administration as well, too. But they want to force this down our throat. And we will not stand for it. I love the resounding rejection that Mark and his stooges, I will call them, got on Monday night. Here's another matter that really concerns me, and Stuckey sort of touched on it. Matt Brantley said that the developers are looking for land outside of the zone to offer to people as swap lands. So here is it, you have a group of libertarians coming to Nevis to dictate to Nivisians where they should live. And Nivisians must sell all of their lands, not even lease, not a portion of it. They want all of it. And they're telling you and suggesting to you where you should live in your own country. This sounds like apartheid in South Africa, where blacks were pushed in a certain area to live and given the worst jobs and placed at the bottom of the ladder in a country that is predominantly black. Same thing is playing out here. How dare you come into my country and tell me or suggest to me, no, we don't want you in this area. Go over there to someplace else in Nevis to live. So you can't live among us, or we can't live among you. You're now dictating where we live because we want this land, we see what's on this land, and we must have this land. Nivisians need to wake up. And I think it's about time all those who might have entered some contractual arrangement with these developers, they need to start contemplating exiting those contracts because they were deceived. It was deception from the start. And then I will end with this. Daly's favorite person, Eric. Eric said to us, the government doesn't have any money to purchase land to support the housing stock in Nevis. But yet still, the government is willing to allow developers to take 2,400 acres of our land to foreigners who are racist. But you can't find land for the people, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And then here is the stupidity. They are encouraging Nivisians to return home. Mark's words, oh, we like them to come back home. Well, if you're giving away the land to foreigners and so much land, are you assuming that all the Nivisians who want to return home have land already? Or do they have to purchase land? And if they don't have land, where would they find land to purchase if so much land will be given away?
Thank you very much, caller.
It's foolish. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Daly, you wanted to jump in, but I just want to make one quick point. The very fact that Janssen is looking to get land outside of the, well, probably already has land outside of the zone to offer as exchange for people. But how is this possible when our premier said to us that people inside the zone cannot purchase land outside the zone? Where is Janssen inside and outside the zone? Is a Jumbi? Yeah, all over?
What you're saying is nonsense. The law as it is written now.
You're a citizen. The act, what can stop you from buying land inside and outside?
But one of the provisions of the act allows ownership or the expansion of the zone.
Mm-hmm.
It does not say contiguous. You're allowed to expand the zone. That is written as part of the law.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That's clear. So all this thing about they won't be able to buy land outside. Well, is there even a regulatory agency looking at that?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to monitor that? All right? But, you know, it frightens me that so many people among us are so simple-minded that it all comes down to jobs. A few jobs here and a few jobs there. It seems to me what they're saying, they don't mind giving up their freedom. They don't mind giving up their government. They don't mind giving up their legislature. They don't mind giving up everything in exchange to clean toilets and sweep yards and cut hedges. Where are we as a people in our thinking? I really thought that we had evolved beyond the ABCs and what you call junior sprat and potato logic. You know, we are going backwards to when Christopher Columbus came here and gave trinkets, beads, and mirrors in exchange for gold. Because people never seen gold before, or trinkets before, or glass and mirrors. And so they thought it was novel. But there's a deeper feeling of inferiority that I'm finding. Because if these were 10,000 Haitians,
oh, that wouldn't work.
It wouldn't have worked.
No.
But 10,000 white folks.
Yeah, when we get 10 Haitians, we're very quick to send them back home.
Send them back.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are saying that 10,000 Anglo are coming. And people seem to have no problem. There's a deeper sense of inferiority in amongst our people. And perhaps religion has its part, indoctrination has its part, the movies have their part, everything has a part in making black people feel that they're less than. And that's the part that bothers me the most. I have lived away from Nevis for 15 years or more. And I know how I was treated as a minority. Called all sorts of names. But it's very same people who are now being invited here by the Premier of Nevis. I remember the difficulty and the fear of walking from my office on the university campus to my dorm just off campus because of the harassment. And those same libertarian type people are who we are inviting amongst our midst. The caller before said, yes, we have to look at the entire philosophy of libertarians. There are libertarians who barely are active, or people leave and come out because they can't stand it. But the more virile, which are the ones we have, the people like the Johnsons and them, they're the ones who are bringing this alien philosophy to us. I mean, look at the reaction in St. Kitts. An Arab theme, a Hindu theme mosque or museum caused an instant uproar. This ain't look Caribbean. This ain't looks like St. Kitts and Nevis. Look how they desecrated Fort Thomas. That is one spot. We have the whole southeast.
That's 8 acres.
8 acres. And people are up in arms.
When we're talking about 2,400 acres and more.
And more. By people who do not think like us. Who do not see life the way we feel. Who are escaping paying taxes. While we out in the outside here have to pay every dime.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of Nevis. And the only reason I believe, or one of the main reasons, not the only reason, we have yet to identify who the hell we are as a people. We have been so downtrodden to make us believe that we are less than all these inferiority complexes that we have to face as a people. It's coming home to us. We send our children to school and they're reading somebody else's history, not reading ours. Slavery is being passed off as a thing that happened. Never really getting into the nitty-gritty and the guts of what it meant to be a slave. We take our children shopping for toys at Christmas. And the young girls go pick up a little white dolly from the shelf.
I'll leave the black one.
And leave the black one. I don't want that black one, mommy. I want the white one. We have created this monster by not identifying ourselves as proud black people who will not allow ourselves to be dominated by anybody else.
So you're saying that we are basically cooked?
No, I'm basically saying that we have to look at ourselves. We really need to do some serious introspection as to who the hell are we, that we are willing to give up everything that makes us proud black people to 10,000 white people. It is mind-blowing.
For a job.
For a job.
Or promise of a job.
To clean their toilets and cut their grass.
And let me for the record say, gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. But let me for the record say that, listen, we understand that there will be some good paying jobs during the construction and after the construction. But after that construction, what are the jobs? The Premier is telling people, the jobs. Destiny is telling people, apply for jobs. And you don't know what the hell you're applying for. You have no idea what jobs you will be applying for. But they're telling you apply. I want to we have a call coming out of England. We don't get calls out of England often. So let's take this one. And say, hello, good evening, caller.
Up late.
Hello.
Good evening, you're live.
Good evening. This is one Mr. Kyron Powell.
How are you, sir?
I am not bad. How are you?
I am getting better and better.
No, Emma and I are actually just watching the show because we can't sleep, and we've heard about this project, and we actually own some acreage of land up in that area, but we didn't know to the extent that this is what is happening. So we just found it a fascinating conversation.
Well, I hope that you're up to speed because we have a premier and a government here in Nevis which is negotiating with Janssen and others for the sale of up to 2,400 acres of land in that area. You're talking about 4 square miles of a 36 square mile island where they are negotiating with the government, and the government seems to have agreed that they will not be paying any taxes. So that's a tax-free area over there. I'm outside of the zone. I will have to continue to pay house and land tax and every other tax. And these people are getting a freebie. They want to have their own society, their own little state inside of the state. And that is what we find, which is not going down well with me at all, and with a lot of people here in Nevis.
Well, I don't know the inner workings of the day-to-day operations and the feasibility of it, but I know that, for example, we have been contacted by I guess it's some crypto millionaire or billionaire, whatever the case is, in terms of trying to purchase our property, our land as well, which probably highly undervalued given the scope of what they're trying to do as well in terms of the offer that they sent as well. So I know it was facilitated by the Prime Minister's wife as well, if I'm not mistaken, the approach that we had.
The Premier's wife.
Yeah.
Well, I like to tell people, as the Mighty Arrow did so many years ago, hold on to your property. Because what they're offering is a fraction of what the land is worth. Plus, we simply don't believe that you can give 2,400 acres, 4 square miles of Nevis, to a libertarian group. We know what the libertarians want. They're talking about a free society. They don't want to abide by the rules that we have, the laws that we have in St. Kitts and Nevis. They want to do their own thing. They want to have their own area unto themselves. And we find that is not palatable.
That's what we didn't choose to sell the land as well, because obviously, as I said, we didn't know obviously the full scope of what they're trying to do. We just knew that they're trying to build something, but now listening to the program and I guess getting a better grasp of what they're trying to do, definitely undervalued in terms of price that was offered, but in terms of what they're trying to do in terms of the society, or I guess disrupting the country, I'm not sure how that would sort of work, because if you're building a state within a state, Nevis is already a very intricate and intimate society of only, I would say, 10,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're adding another 10,000 people that are trying to have their own state and government, etc., it's very easy in that way for them to topple what is the current Nevis as we know it.
You're absolutely correct. Well,
no, well,
no, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I guess, add my little piece, or, obviously listening to the show. I don't know if they're following, I guess, Singapore or Dubai, that model, but it's interesting.
The Premier and the Prime
followed that model again.
Yeah, the Premier and the Prime Minister said they are following the Dubai model. And we are telling them that we prefer to follow the Nevis model because we don't want our people to be offered menial jobs and to become slaves. We are out of slavery for hundreds of years. We don't want to go back there at all.
Well, Dubai doesn't offer citizenship for one. You get residency, but you don't become a citizen. And even the own properties, you have to renew your residency after X amount of years or whatever time frame your license is valid. So that's how they protect their borders.
Yep. Kyron, thank you very much. We normally finish at 10 o'clock. But we're here every single Thursday night from 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock, at least 10 o'clock. Dr. Daly and Tulu and Hensley are back on a Saturday from 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then normally come with a tremendous amount of information on this SSZ zone here in Nevis as well. So thank you very much for calling. And I hope that you stay updated. And kudos to you for holding on to your property up there in the zone.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. For the record, that's my younger son, Kyron.
He sounds like a grown man.
Yes.
Well, he's 35 years old. He's a grown man.
His voice sounds bigger than that.
No, that's Kyron calling in all the way from London.
I thought the name sounded familiar.
I know it's the same name, but the voice too deep for that young boy.
Yeah.
I guess we still see him as a little boy.
Let's take our final call for the night. Somebody has been trying for quite a bit. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. I know it's kind of late, but I've been trying for a while.
Yes.
There's something because there's a gentleman who was telling me about a particular property over at Patrick's Bay for the longest while.
You're fading in and out, so stay close to the phone and keep your voice up.
Yes, so there was a gentleman who was been telling me about a particular property over at Patrick's Bay. There is a fence line that almost goes into the water. And then what has happened now, where the fence ends, they have used that area to the water itself, and they have put acacia trees. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it means nobody is supposed to pass to go down that area. So I put the video on Facebook about 2 days ago. And then the gentleman called me again today and said, you know what happened? Why they moved the acacia trees, you know?
Okay.
And if we are not paying attention, if this talk about SSD is in the air and we are having these things happening on a small scale, what is going to happen when these larger players come into play? And they are the one calling the shots. Visions, just like how you guys went to over at Long Point, we gotta check out our coastline. We gotta see all who has property. Because some of them put up fences, they put up stone walls, all kind of thing, and we're not paying attention. We have to pay attention because it's happening slowly. But when this thing comes, it's going to be on a larger scale. That is all.
Thank you very much, caller. Gentlemen, we can finish at 15:15, which means we are already into overtime, but we can go until 15:15. But I don't want to leave this until last. So let me play this now.
I am here to advise those who may not have known that it does not matter to me one jot what people say. It doesn't matter. What you have to say about me and your opinion of me, that no matter. You understand? Because when I go home, it is the opinions there that matter to me most. I live by me. You live by you. So you worry about who home by you, whether them like you or not. And I can worry about who home by me.
I'm horrified. Gentlemen, I am absolutely horrified. This is the Mark Brantley that I knew, that I know, and I will continue to know. Mark don't give a damn about people. At election time, he will tell you people matter most. But you heard him on this clip? When I heard him on this clip, I said, I remember the movie My Cousin Vinny. One of my favorite movies. And I remember the judge asking the character played by Danny DeVito, are you on drugs? That is what came to my mind first and foremost. How can the premier of the island of Nevis go on his radio program and tell the people of Nevis, whether at home or abroad, you no matter? Why you say don't matter? And we have heard in the town hall meeting the premier say more than once, you elect a government. Somebody asks a question about referendum. No referendum. Somebody asks a question about early elections. No early elections. You voted for a government. We are the government. We're going to do what the hell we please. And for him to go on his radio show live and to say, hey, listen, what you say don't matter. It don't matter. What matters and who matter are the people at home. But for home, he's the premier. Home is the whole of Nevis. He's a federal representative. So his constituency stretches beyond St. John. Is also St. Paul. He's responsible for the whole of Nevis. And this is what our premier had to say.
I am here to advise those who may not have known that it does not matter to me one jot what people say. It doesn't matter. What you have to say about me and your opinion of me, that no matter. You understand? Because when I go home, it is the opinions there that matter to me most. I live by me. You live by you. So you worry about who home by you, whether them like you or not. And I can worry about who home by me.
I am willing to take a drug test. Test me for anything. If the premier say he gonna take one. Because he no sound normal.
No, he's not on drugs.
But I'm not saying he is. I'm offering that I would take one if he say he gonna take one.
He's not on alcohol either.
He no sound normal.
I am happy for what he said. Because for years now we have been saying the premier is not for the people of Nevis. The premier does not care two hoots about the people of Nevis. And now he's saying it in his own voice, his own word, come full circle. Somebody calling in? You want to take the call?
No, we want to meet the 15 past deadline.
Give them the last shot. Give them the last shot.
You say so. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Powell. Good evening, Dr. Daly.
Make it tight because we're getting out of here at 10:15.
That leader what we have there, he have no respect for the people and he have no regard for the people. You hear what he say? He no matter who. We got to get this man out of office. This man has no respect for the people. Look what he's saying. The politician asking a man for a job. Say, give me a chance to solve. And he gonna say, he no matter. He no cannot about the people. We got to get this man from there. Either by will or by force. Force will come. Good night.
Thank you very much, caller. And that's absolutely our last call for the night, so shut down the phone lines.
Premier
Go ahead, Tulu. And then Daily will close.
Has let it out to the people of Nevis, including those who run behind him and support him, including Troy and Spencer and all of them who was at the head table with him on Monday evening, that I do not care nothing about what you say about me. My interest is in my house, my wife, and my daughters. The rest of you do not matter. And this is why people need to understand that this SEC, this SZZ?
SSZ
matter is very, very important. Because though in speaking to persons who he is motivated or like him to come to these parts to take over, he would have said that they are purchasing lands from a foreign government to create the world's first libertarian country. Their focus is to establish a country. It says, they said also that government should be shunned. We have paid or offered lots of money to this government to get what we want. They say, Ver is saying that he and Jensen in their lifetime want to see a free society. They're working at it. So they want the first country, libertarian country, they want a free society. Something else he said also in their country that they want, there'll be no government authority. There'll be no passports inside their country. People will be able to come free. Now here it is that the Premier is telling us that these people would not be a country within a country. But Ver is saying that, and they would have negotiated all of these things he said with the government. He said that they set the rules, not the government set the rules. And in their country, there will be no passport. But here the key thing for me is that he says, think of the area as a private home owners association. We lay out the rules from day one, and that is the plain rules. That is Ver. So Daly, you are right from the beginning. Ver has confirmed what you have been saying to us, that these regulations that we have was laid out and gave to the Nevis Island administration, and they will get what they want because it has already been negotiated for. There's no turning back. Good night, people.
Daly?
What we are seeing in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis is desperation. Desperation to accommodate libertarians with big bucks. Desperation to get investment to finance their projects, to make viable a dying CBI that the Prime Minister is overlooking. What these guys come with is a lot of money. And we are being sold by our governments. Just like the slave traders sold Africans, we are being sold in a modern era by our leadership in return for a handful of dollars, as if money is the only thing that matters. Dr. Drew and his cabinet and his parliament and St. Kitts need to be ashamed for a man who claims African heritage, Rastafari roots, not looking at who are coming and why they're coming. He should be ashamed. Any talk going forward about anything about black pride, about Africanness, about Pan-Africanism, about Rastafari, he should not be allowed to speak. He should not be allowed to speak when he's inviting upon his own people here on Nevis and St. Kitts the intrusion of 10,000 plus libertarians who think opposite to us, who are racist. How dare he speak anymore on these matters? He has lost that opportunity. This is no joke. You're inviting 15,000 people, 10,000 people that will multiply upon us here. You must think you might think you're going to stop them from being citizens, but the children were born here. You can't stop a natural born child unless you're going to change the constitution again to accommodate. Why did Dr. Drew go all the way to Africa
to build relationship, to recover our history and our culture, as he said he did. But allow Mark Brantley, which he agreed with, to bring in a whole boatload.
That's not a boatload.
A whole train load.
Yeah, not even a trailer. One of the big U.S. destroyers.
A destroyer.
They have about 6,000, so it's about two of those.
But why would you then? Because it's so oxymoronic that you're going there talking about building bridges to Africa.
And he can't build a bridge to Nevis?
Can't build one to Nevis. But deeper than that, he's doing everything to destroy Nevis with this project. Because he must know in any review of the philosophy of these libertarians, that is exactly what's going to happen. This is not rocket science. These people have published what they intend to do. True. They have a blueprint, for Christ's sake.
True.
They have a blueprint, year by year, what they hope to accomplish in taking over this country. They're not hiding. You don't have to dig too far, too deep. They've said it. We want to be masters of this country. We want to own this country. And the Prime Minister and his cabinet, and the Premier and his cabinet are rolling out the red carpet for them to do exactly that. And we in Nevis, who have worked so hard to become who we are since 1983 and still fighting for equity in this relationship with St. Kitts, and we are simply going to lay down and play dead on this matter. We are simply going to allow Mark Brantley and his wife and his cabal of people to run roughshod over us and build their shiny city while we suck salt? Are we that docile a people? Are we that coward of a people? Then, if that's the case, what's the point of we arguing?
But argue, I still will.
If we are this coward, that we see with clarity what's going to happen to us, and we're simply going to just sit back?
No, we'll keep fighting.
Good words. Good night.
Thank you very much. A couple of things. We have been told by the Premier on several occasions, both on video and on audio, that they have not signed an agreement with Destiny. I am convinced that they have given Destiny some assurances and that they have made some commitments. But he says that they have not signed an agreement to date. I believe him. And since I believe the Premier, I want also to go on record as saying that if an agreement is signed with Destiny after his last pronouncement, anytime that the island of Nevis would be called upon to pay what he says is the nuclear option, what I have been told is the $23 billion clause, we must hold Mark Brantley and his entire cabinet responsible for any payments in that regard. Because he has said to us repeatedly, no deal has been signed. If he comes to us and tells us that a deal was signed and that the people of Nevis do not want the zone and so they have to back out of the agreement, Mark Brantley and his cabinet must be held responsible for any charges on the treasury of Nevis. That's the first point I'm making. The second point I am making is that CCM is on the decline. We saw this in the last election. The people did not want a CCM government. I am convinced that they stole the election. And I am assured that the people do not want CCM as their government. The Premier and his whole government are under pressure. For years, they have been collecting money from the Treasury and they have not been performing. And as a result of that, they are akin to a drowning man clutching at a straw. Their straw is Johnson and his compatriots and this SSZ zone in an area which had so much historical significance. I am happy that I made the tour last week Sunday and that I was able to put my hands and my feet in water that is as hot as, and in some instances hotter than, the water in the Bath Stream. Says to me that in that area, as barren as Mark Brantley says it is, it has been fruitful in the past and it can be. And if Mark Brantley had put in the road as he said that he would in 2019, it would have been a different kettle of fish. People would have had access to their lands and people would have been able to start developing those lands. That did not happen. And so the fault is his. He's in government. He didn't quite understand the NRPA argument and proposal for the South Coast Road. But he figured, boy, this sounds good. Our people are talking about it. Let us say we will do it. And then he backed off from that and put it down to cost. We're going to look at that next week, but not now.
I have one announcement.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to advertise Divisions for Nevis, NFN. They have the annual brunch, which is on this Saturday coming, Saturday, November 1st, at 781 Castle Hill Avenue, Bronx, New York, from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Tickets are only $40. You remember, folks, Divisions for Nevis do a lot of good work here on Nevis. And so please go out if you are in the Bronx, 781 Castle Hill Avenue, for the Divisions for Nevis annual brunch.
Delia, you want to go to the brunch. I promised last year. So I'm going to blame Annette and Susie and Joya for not giving me advance notice of the brunch. They're telling me Thursday for Saturday. and I got to go to the Gingerland breakfast Saturday. I don't blame them. Anyway, let me just close by saying congratulations to the Nevis team for defeating St. Martin today in the today game. We had centuries from Captain Carlon Bowen Tuckett and Kezran Archibald, and good all-around performances, including wickets by our bowlers, including Onaje and Jaden and Caddy and Kezi himself and others. But to the entire team, cricket is a team sport. So to the entire team, I'm saying congratulations. And they start another game tomorrow. That's the final game in the tournament. And we wish you well. The Nevis Cricket Association annual general meeting comes up on the 16th of November. And is an election meeting. If you love cricket, please come to the meeting. You know, only members could vote. But if you love cricket, come to the meeting because we want to do whatever we can to revive cricket in Nevis. Here is how we're going to leave you until next week from the town hall meeting.
We're having a town hall now, again, not to talk about the legislation, but to talk about the project that has been proposed. I am not understanding why that is such a difficult concept for us to grasp. The project that is proposed is what we are talking about. Do we want this project that is proposed on the South Coast? That is what we're talking about. Right? So that's where we are.
And the people said, no, we don't want that project. So
my question is one.
Don't want it. Sorry.
One thing, we want we land. We want we say. Everybody to